Okay, number one, we're going to simplify the expression. So here we are going to distribute the 3 to both terms. We get 12x minus 3, and then we're going to distribute this negative here. We're going to distribute it to each term inside of this set of parentheses. So we get minus 2x, and then minus 6, and we will distribute this 2/3 here to each term inside of that set of parentheses. So 2/3 of 6 and 2/3 of negative 15. So 2/3 of 6 is 4, so we're going to put plus 4. And 2/3 of negative 15 is negative 10. And then it has an x, so we're going to put an x with it. Okay, once we distribute, our next step would be to combine like terms. So we'll combine everything that has an x. So we have 12x's here, negative 2x here, and negative 10x here. Well, if I add 12 and negative 2, I get 10, and then 10 plus this negative 10 here gives us 0. So they cancel each other out, and we're left with 0 x's. Now I could write down 0x, but I'm not going to in this case because if I have none of them, there's no reason to write them down. So now I'm going to combine my constants. I have negative 3, negative 6, and positive 4. When I combine those together, negative 3 and negative 6 is negative 9, plus 4 more makes negative 5. Okay, so my constant term is negative 5, and the coefficient of x was 0 in this case. Okay, number 2 says find the following. We want to find the perimeter of the rectangle in terms of x and y with a length of 5x minus 4y plus 3 and a width of 2x plus y minus 7. Okay, when I see a problem like this, the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a picture of the shape that they give me. So they're saying rectangle, so I'll draw a rectangle. Okay, and let's move that over a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to draw the rectangle, and I'm going to label the sides, right? Because we're looking for perimeter, and we know that perimeter means that you have to add the sides all the way around the shape. Alright, so the length is 5x minus 4y plus 3. And I'm going to put that on the bottom as well. And the width is 2x plus y minus 7. So 2x plus y minus 7. Alright, so I'm going to add the x terms together. So I have 5 here, plus 5 here is 10, plus 2 more is 12, plus 2 more is 14. So I have 14x. Then I'm going to combine my y terms. I have negative 4 and negative 4 gives me negative 8. I'm going to add a positive 1, it's negative 7. And another positive 1 gives me negative 6. So we have minus 6y. And then I'm going to combine my constants. I have negative 7 and negative 7 gives me negative 14. And then 3 and 3 gives me positive 6. So negative 14 and positive 6 gives me negative 8. And that's the perimeter of the rectangle. So P equals. Alright, letter B, the area of the rectangle. So area tells me we're going to be multiplying length and times the width. So the area of that rectangle in terms of x with the length of 7x minus 4 and a width of 4x minus 5. So once again, we're going to draw a picture. We're going to label the sides. And in this one, I only need the length and the width because I'm just multiplying them. And in the other one, we needed all 4 sides because we were doing the perimeter. Alright, so 7x minus 4 times 4x minus 5. So we're taking this expression and we're going to multiply it times this expression. So to show that, we're going to put the first expression in parentheses, and we're going to put the second one in parentheses, and then we will do double distribution. So we're going to take each term, so we're going to take the 7x and multiply it times each of these, and then we're going to take the negative 4 and multiply it times each of these. Alright, so 7x times 4x is 28x squared. 7x times negative 5 is negative 35x. And negative 4 times 4x is negative 16x. And negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. Alright, so now we're going to combine the x terms here. So I end up with area equals 28x squareds minus 51x plus 20. Okay, solve for the unknown variable, number 1. Alright, so this is an equation. We have an equal sign here, so we know it's an equation, not an expression. We have a left side of an equation and we have a right side of an equation. So I'm going to go ahead and split that down the middle so I can see where it's different. And when we're going to solve an equation, we want to simplify everything that we can before we start moving things back and forth to balance it, right? So we want to simplify everything on the left side, and then once we get it in simplified form, then we're going to solve for x from there. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine our x values. So I have 3x and negative 6x here. So combined, that gives me negative 3x. And then that 9 has nothing to combine with, so plus 9 equals 33. Alright, so now that my the left side of the equation is simplified, we will solve for x. So I'm going to add negative 9 to both sides so that it cancels out over here. And I'm left with negative 3x equals 24. And now I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. Right? It's a balance, it's an equation, so we have to do whatever we do on one side, we have to do it on the other. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, positive 1, so I have 1x, and that equals negative 8. Alright, number 2. 4/7 x, so 4/7 times x plus 8 equals negative 4. Same thing, I'm going to split the sides so I can see it's nice and neat. One side and the other. So this is already simplified over here on the left side. So now I just need to move the 8. So we're going to always do the opposite operation. So I'm going to add negative 8 or subtract 8, same thing. So let's see, minus 8 on both sides, or adding a negative 8. And I'm left with 4/7 x equals negative 12. Okay. Now, like I said, we're going to do opposite operations. So right here, we have 4/7 times x. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to take the 4/7 and I'm going to divide it by 4/7. Right? Because anything divided by itself is 1, right? Okay, so divided by 4/7. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so 4/7 divided by 4/7 is 1, so I'm left with 1x, okay, equals, and then negative 12 divided by 4/7 is going to give you negative 21. Now in your calculator, you would type, you do negative 12 divided by parentheses 4/7. Alright, the parentheses are very important in your calculator work on this one. Alright, number 3. All right, 50 equals 6x minus 14 minus 2x. Start by dividing it up, separating the sides. The left side is simplified in this one, so we need to simplify the right side. So I'm going to combine my x's. So I have 6x and negative 2x. It gives me 4x. So 50 equals 4x, and then that minus 14 is all by itself. So we just throw it on the end. We are going to do the opposite operation. So we're going to add 14 to both sides. And that leaves me with 64 here, and 4x on this side. 4 times x, so we're going to divide by 4, opposite operation. And we get 16 equals x. Okay. All right, number 4. Split the sides. Oops. There we go. Split the sides. It's already simplified on the left side, so we're going to go ahead and start solving for x. And I have 2/9 x equals negative 32. Okay. All right. Now we are going to divide by 2/9 on both sides. Okay, so 2/9 divided by 2/9 is 1. So I'm left with 1x equals, and then when I divide this in the calculator, remember that you need to put the 2/9 in parentheses. When I divide that out, I'm going to get negative 144. Okay. Number 5, split the sides. Okay, and then I'm going to simplify the left side of the equation. This time I have I need to distribute first, so I see this distribution. So I'm going to distribute 2 to each term. So that leaves me with 2x minus 8, and then plus that x equals 22. Okay, I'm going to combine the like terms, so 2x and x gives me 3x. Minus 8 equals 22. And now we're going to do opposite operations. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. And I have 3x equals 30. And then we are going to divide by 3. And I'm left with x equals 10. Okay, number 6. Split the sides. And it's already simplified, so I'm going to start solving for x now. So we'll add 12 to both sides. And that leaves me with w divided by negative 5 equals 15. Okay, so when I'm looking at this is a little bit different than what we were looking at earlier. The other one, like down here in number 8, it shows a fraction times something. So if this was 2/3 x, it would be 2/3 times x. This is taking the variable and dividing it by negative 5. So since we see division here, we need to do the opposite of that. So instead of dividing by negative 5, we want to multiply it by negative 5, both sides. So I'm going to I'd put this in parentheses, and I'd multiply it by negative 5. And on this side, we would do the same thing and multiply it by negative 5. All right. So you can see that this is doing the opposite, right? So if I'm dividing something by -5 to I guess basically counteract that, we would multiply by -5. So that ends up giving me back to 1w. So we have w equals, and then 15 times -5 is -75. Okay, another way to kind of look at this is w divided by -5 is the same thing as -1/5 w. Right, so if I made w a fraction, we would put it over 1 like that. And the rule for multiplying fractions, right, you multiply the numerators, then you multiply the denominators. Right, so I would end up with 1 times w, which is w, and then 5 times 1 is 5, and then we knew it was negative because it was a -1/5, and that just means really either number could be negative because one of the two pieces needs to be negative. So I'm just going to put it down here on the bottom so that it matches what we had in the problem. Okay. All right, number 7. We have another distributing problem here, or in this equation. So we are going to split the sides, distribute the 2 to each term. So 2 times b is 2b, 2 times 8 is 16, and then minus 14 equals 6. Okay, I'm going to combine the like terms, so the two constants. So I have 2b minus 2 equals 6. Now I'm going to, since it's simplified, I'm going to solve for x now. So I'm going to do the opposite operation, so plus 2. And I have 2b equals 8. And since that's multiplication, we divide by 2 so that it becomes 1. And I'm left with b equals 4. Okay, number 8. We're going to distribute a fraction in this one. So I'm going to take 2/3 and I'm going to distribute it to each of these terms. Okay. 2/3 times x is going to be 2/3 x, right? Because the coefficient, or the number in front of x, is 1. So 2/3 of 1 is 2/3. It is itself. So 2/3 x. And 2/3 of -12 is going to be -8. And that equals -20. Okay, I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and I'm left with 2/3 x equals -12. Okay, and then my last step is going to be to get rid of that fraction in front of x, so I need to divide both sides by 2/3, right? Because anything divided by itself is going to give us the 1 that we're looking for. So I'm left with x equals, and then when I divide this by 2/3, I'm going to get, let's see, -18. -36, yeah, -18. Okay, number 9. 3d minus d plus 6 equals -10. So we're going to separate our sides. I will simplify the left side, and I'm going to start by distributing this negative to each of these terms, right? Because this means I'm subtracting everything in the parentheses. So we're just going to distribute it, and then I will combine like terms. So I like to change everything to addition because combine means to add, so we're going to combine the like terms. So we're going to distribute it like this. So I have 3d minus d minus 6 equals negative 10. Combine the 3d and the negative d, gives me 2d minus 6 equals negative 10. Then we are going to solve for d now, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. And we get 2d equals negative 4. Divide by 2. And we get d equals negative 2. Okay, number 10. Separate the sides. We're going to distribute this 3 to each term inside of the parentheses. So we get negative 66 plus 12p plus 27 equals 45. Alright, so we distributed to both of those. Now we're going to combine like terms. So my like terms are going to be the negative 66 and the positive 27. So that gives me negative 39 plus 12p equals 45. We're going to now solve for p, so I'm going to add 39 to both sides. And I have 12p equals 84. And divide by 12. And I'm left with p equals 7. Okay, number 11. Split the sides. Distribute that 3. So we want to distribute the 3 to both terms inside the parentheses. So negative 7 equals 3t minus 15 minus t. We're going to combine like terms. So 3t and that negative t at the end gives me 2t minus 15. We are going to now solve for t. So add 15 to both sides. And divide by 2. So t equals 4. Okay, number 12. I'm going to separate the sides. It is already simplified, so we will now solve for x. So I will add 5 to both sides. And we have x divided by 4 equals negative 17. Since this is division here, all right, to get rid of that division, we need to multiply by 4, so we're backing the operation out. So it is division, so to back it up, to do the opposite, we multiply. So we are going to multiply this by 4. And what I do to one side of an equation, I have to do to the other. So negative 17 times 4. These cancel here, or not really cancel, but it becomes 1 because this is like saying 4 divided by 4. So that's 1x equals, and then negative 17 times 4 is negative 68. Alright, word problems. So this is what you're going to probably, you'll see on STAR. And then, of course, everybody always wants to know, why will I ever use algebra? Well, here's some very good examples of how you would use it. Yes, there are. I just want to start by saying, yes, there are other ways to solve these problems. But, in algebra, what we want to do is we want to learn the process of using algebra. So we're going to set up algebraic equations, and we're going to solve them properly. All right, so this one says, a large pizza costs $9 with no toppings. If it cost $1.75 per topping. How many toppings were ordered if the total cost was $21.25? Okay, so there's a couple things that I look at here. First, we're talking about a pizza is $9 with no toppings. So that's just the base cost there, right? So that's a fixed cost. It's not going to change, right? It's $9 no matter what for each pizza. Now, what is changing is the amount of toppings that we put on this pizza. And the cost for each of those toppings is $1.75. So it says $1.75 per topping. So this is what's changing here. So this is what's varying. So we're going to use a variable here. So if I'm going to set this up, I would say that we have it's $9 for the pizza plus $1.75 per topping. All right. And together, right, it says the total cost was $21.25. Okay, so this would be how we would set it up using algebra. Since this is a simplified expression on the left side, we are going to now solve for t to find out how many toppings were ordered for that pizza. So I'll split the side. And we will add a -9 to both sides. And I'm left with 1.75t equals 12.25. Okay. Now, what this is showing me is, or what I've done is I've taken out the cost of the pizza from the total, and I'm left with just the cost of the toppings, right? So if it's $1.75 per topping, how many toppings could I buy to equal $12.25? So to find that out, we divide by 1.75. And we find out that the number of toppings ordered on that pizza was 7. Okay, number 14. The forests of Hawaii only received 7.4 inches of rain in the first quarter of the year, 6.2 inches in the second quarter of the year, and 6.8 inches in the third quarter of the year. How many inches of rain must they receive in the fourth quarter for the average rainfall per quarter to be 8.8 inches? Okay, this is going to be a multi-step problem here. There's a couple things that I've noticed when I'm reading this problem. We have 4 quarters, right? First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So we're talking about all of that rain added together, and then we need to find the average to be 8.8 inches. Okay. I also noticed that they only gave us 3 of the 4 values, right, for the amount of rain in inches. So we're missing the fourth quarter. So when I write this, or when I set this problem up, we're going to take 7.4 inches for the first quarter, and we're going to add 6.2 from the second quarter, and then we're going to add 6.8 from the third quarter. And now I don't know how much rain was in the fourth quarter, so I'm going to use a variable, and I'm just going to use x in this case, so we're going to add x, okay? And then we know altogether that this average over here is going to give us 8.8, okay? But on the left side, I'm not quite done, okay? Said I need to find the average. So I can't add these 3 pieces together and then subtract from that and find out what x is. So to find average, remember we add up all of the values and then we divide it by however many there are. So in this case, we have 4 different terms, so we're going to divide by 4. And that will give us the average. So this will give us the average for the rainfall, and we know that this has to equal 8.8 over the 4 quarters. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add the numerator. So we have 7.4, 6.2, and 6.8. That gives me This is going to give me 13 plus 7.4 is 20.4. So I have 20.4. And then I still have this x, so I have to add that with it. So plus x divided by 4 equals 8.8. All right. So on the previous page, we always started by adding the opposite, and then we did the multiplying or dividing for the last step. But as I look at this problem, right, we have two things in the numerator, so I can't just take that 20.4 and move it over here, right? Because really we're having to divide this for each piece and then move it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to multiply, to get rid of this denominator here, I'm going to multiply both sides, right? Multiply this and this by 4. Okay. So when I do this, it gets rid of the denominator. So I'm left with 20.4 plus x equals, and 8.8 times 4 is 35.2. Okay. And then I'm going to solve for x now. Right. So I have 20.4 plus x, so I'm going to add a negative 20.4 to both sides. Okay. And I'm left with x equals, and that's going to give me 14.8. So the value of x is 14.8. So what that's telling me is that in the fourth quarter, I need 14.8 inches of rain to average out to 8.8 inches for each quarter. And number 15, the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 centimeters. The length of the rectangle can be represented by x plus 4, and its width can be represented by 2x minus 7. What are the dimensions of this rectangle in centimeters? Alright, so in this problem, they are giving me the perimeter of the rectangle in centimeters, and then they're also giving me the length and the width of the rectangle, but they're in terms of x. Okay. And then the specific question is, what are the dimensions of this rectangle in centimeters? So what it means by the dimensions is, what are the values of the length and the width in centimeters, not in terms of x. So first thing I want to do is I want to draw a picture. Okay. And I'm going to label my sides. It tells me that the length is x plus 4. And the width is 2x minus 7. Okay. And I know that the perimeter, to get the perimeter, I need to add up all those sides. I also know that the perimeter is 42. So I'm going to add up the perimeter in terms of x. So I have 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 2 more. It's going to give me 6x. So 6x. And I'm going to add my constants. So I have negative 7 and negative 7 is negative 14. 4 plus 4 is 8. So negative 14 and 8 is negative 6. So minus 6. Okay, so this is the perimeter in terms of x. Right? I've added up all the sides, and this is what I get. The problem also tells me that the perimeter is 42 centimeters. So since that same rectangle is 42 and it is this as the perimeter, I can set them equal to each other. Okay? So it equals 42. Okay, now if I solve for x, it'll or now I can solve it for x, I guess is what I should say. So we're going to split the sides, and I am going to add 6 to both sides. And I end up with, I'm going to write this in blue so it doesn't go over there. So 6x equals 48. And then we're going to divide both sides by 6. And I find that x is equal to 8. Okay. So 8 isn't any of the dimensions. 8 is just the value of x. So to find the length, I need to take the value of x and I need to substitute it back in for x here. So we have 8 plus 4 is 12. So the length of the rectangle is going to be 8 plus 4. So it was x plus 4. So we're going to substitute in 8. So the length equals 12. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for the width. So we're going to start with 2x minus 7. And we're going to substitute the 8 in. So we end up with 2 times 8 minus 7. And we get 16 minus 7, which is 9. So the, oops, and I meant width up here, not length. So the width was 2x. Where's the eraser? There we go. No, it's stuck. Alright, so I meant width here. So that's width, not length. Okay, so the width is equal to 9. Alright, the length of a rectangle is 3x plus 4 and the width is 2x minus 6. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 106, find the value of x and the length of both sides of the rectangle and the area of the rectangle. Alright, so we have a rectangle. And I know the length is 3x plus 4. And the width is 2x minus 6. Alright, it says if the perimeter is 106. So they're giving us a perimeter in terms of x. We can calculate that. And they're also giving us a total value as a constant. So the perimeter is 106. So just like in the previous problem, I can add these 4 pieces up and set it equal to 106 so that I can solve for x and find out what the value of x is. So we're going to go ahead and add our x terms. So 3 and 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. So I have 10x. And our constants, we have negative 6 and negative 6 is negative 12. 4 and 4 gives us 8. So negative 12 and positive 8 is negative 4. So minus 4. And we know that this perimeter can be set equal to 106 because it's giving us the total perimeter there, so equals 106. Okay. Now we're going to solve for x, so we will split the sides. We're going to add 4 to both sides. And we get 10x equals 110. Divide by 10. And we get x equals 11. Okay, so the value of x is 11. Alright, so we did that. It said find the value of x. Done. Now, the length of both sides of the rectangle, so we need to find the length and the width. Okay. So we're going to substitute 11 in for x, right? That's what we found. So we end up with 3 times 11 plus 4. And we find that the length is 33 plus 4, which is 37. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for the width. Okay, so the width, we're going to use 2x minus 6, so 2 times the value of x minus 6. And we find that that is 22 minus 6, and the width is 16. Alright, so now we've found the length of both sides of that rectangle. Now we need to find the area of the rectangle. So in order to find the area, we know that we need to multiply the length times the width. Right, so length times width. Length in this problem was 37. So A equals 37 times the width, which was 16. Okay, so 37 times 16. That one I cannot do in my head quickly, so we get 42, 4, 18, 22, 0, 7, 3, 2, 9, 5. So the area of the rectangle is 592, whatever it was, centimeters squared or inches squared, but it doesn't actually say in the problem. Okay, number 17. The sum of three consecutive integers is 432. What are the numbers? Alright, so in this problem, they're telling us three numbers in a row. If I add them together, if I sum them, the total is going to be 432. Okay, and integers means it's just going to be a whole number. Alright, so it could be positive or negative. But obviously if I'm going to add three numbers together, it's going to be positive in this case. Alright, so when I add those three numbers, I get 432. What are the numbers? Well, they're not giving me any numbers to start with, so I have to actually figure them out. So if they're going to equal 432, I know that three things added together is going to be 432. So I have a first term, a second term, and a third term. And together, they equal 432 when I add them together. Okay. I don't know any of those three terms or any of those three numbers. So I'm going to start with the first one. Okay. So if I don't know what the first one is, I'm going to just call that x. Right? I don't know what it is. Alright, so now when I go to the second one, so I'm going to add the second term. And if they're consecutive, like if it was the numbers 1, 2, and 3, right, these are consecutive integers, 1, 2, and 3, how would I go from 1 to 2? If this is x, what do I need to add to this to get to 2? So to get to 2, we're looking at x plus 1 more, right? So I'm taking this value of x, and I'm adding 1 more to it to get to the next number, the next consecutive number, right? So here I'm going to write x plus 1 because it's the exact same thing. And then plus. Now if I'm starting at x, how do I get to that third term, right? How many do I have to add to x to go over two consecutive numbers, right? So 1, 2. So I have to add 2. Alright. So I'm going to put x plus 2 for the third term. Right? So we're starting with x, we're going to the next number, the next consecutive integer. So we add 1, and then we add another one to get here. So this is 2 away, so that's why we added 2. And that total is 432. Alright, so we need to simplify the left side of the equation. So we're going to add our x terms. Right? So we're going to combine our like terms. So I have 1, 2, 3 x's. And we will add our constants. So I have plus 1 and plus 2 is plus 3. And that equals 432. Now I'm going to solve for x. So we're going to add the opposite. We get 3x equals 429. We're going to now divide by 3. And we're left with x equals 143. Alright, so the value of x is 143. So if I take this 143 and substitute it back in for the first term, right? So that's just a simple substitution here. So our first term, the first number in the sequence, is going to be, so our first term is going to be 143. For our second term, right, we're going to substitute this 143 in here. So 143 plus 1 is 144. And for our third term, we're going to substitute 143 in here. So 143 plus 2 is 145. So here I have three integers, so three whole numbers. They just happen to be positive. They are consecutive, right? That means they're in order when I count. So 143, 144, 145. And if I take those three integers and I add them up, I should get back to 432. So 143 plus 144 plus 145. Okay, we're going to add those up. 4 and 5 is 9, plus 3 more is 12. Carry the 1. 4, 8, 12, 13. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 432. So these would be the three consecutive integers.